Hold up.
Every day I wake up, wake your ass up.
The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Loren LoRosa is here with us as well, and we got a special guest in the building.
Yes, we do.
Her new book is out right now, The Black Family Who Built America. Ladies and gentlemen, she's back. Cheryl McKissack Daniel. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you
I'm
feeling?
so excited.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You look younger.
I love that.
Oh, I know that's right.
The dye. The dye in his head.
Okay,
right. Hey, don't
okay.
hate.
Whatever he's doing, I need some of that.
So for people that didn't hear when you came up here last time or didn't read the book yet, explain what your family has done for this country. The Black Family Who Built America. Break it down from your great-great-grandfather, how he started and where it came from.
Moses McKissack the first.
That's right.
Okay, so let me start with saying I am the proud CEO of a fifth-generation business in America. And I know Charlamagne keeps calling it 7 generations. He's just calling in the girl behind me and her children, my grandkids.
He got in trouble for that earlier today. She was one of the producers was like, it's 5th
I don't
generation.
know why I keep saying 7. I thought it was 7 generations.
Because that's what it's going to be.
Yep,
Okay.
manifesting. He's
There you
speaking
go.
That's
into
right.
existence.
He's manifesting. So we date back 230 years in this country, starting with the first descendant of our family, Moses McKissack I, who came to this country in 1790 as a slave and was taught the trade of making brick. His son was Moses McKissack II, and he was a master carpenter. And he actually started in North Carolina, but he was given as a gift to the Cheers family in Nashville, Tennessee, or Spring Hill. And so that's when the McKissacks moved from North Carolina to Tennessee. He had 7 girls and then 7 boys. And his first son is Moses McKissack the third, and his brother Calvin. And they became the first Black licensed architects in America.
Wow.
Sure you don't want that one instead?
Take
yours.
You need to take the small. There you go.
And anyway, they were known because they traveled all through the Northeast and the South. They built over 6,000 churches. They built 13, 14 historically Black colleges. All the colleges, all the buildings at Fisk University are pretty much designed by Calvin and Moses McKissack. Meharry Medical School, Tennessee State University. What's the one in Tuskegee? And so they worked all through the South. They also got an opportunity to go to Haiti and work with Papa Doc, and then over to Africa. So these men were very innovative, and the company was then passed down to my father, William D. Berry McKissack. And so now we're 4 generations in, if you haven't lost count.
All right.
And then the company was passed down to my mother, who was a fierce leader all by herself. And then eventually I stepped in and took over the company as the 5th generation.
You know what I love about that? And I joke with my kids all the time, right? And I said, when I pass, I'm going to leave y'all everything. I said, but there's one thing that I need. And I said, I want to put a family portrait of me and my wife in the house. And they said, well, why? I said, a lot of times in our family, we forget about grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and what they've established and brought to us, because it's like time moves so fast.
Especially the great-grandparent.
So the fact that you can break down all that, your kids will be able to break that down. Your grandkids will be able to break that down. And that's something that I feel like we miss. When people pass, we're sad, and then we forget about it. But these are the people that started our lives, started generational wealth we talk about all the time. And I feel like, especially in Black families, we should have that. We should know, like, I don't know my great-grandfather. I don't know much about him because my grandfather didn't talk about him. And my parents didn't talk about him. But it's one of those things, it's like we move on. And I love the fact that that is so built into your family, that y'all keep talking about it. You keep mentioning, and you keep talking about the great things that your family has done. I love that.
What you just said is so powerful, but it's so easy to record what's happening in your family. Just do a family tree. Just start a family tree with the individuals that you do know. I remember being like 9 or 10 years old. My mother said, look at this. We just found the family tree. And I'm like, I was fascinated by it. So that was the beginning of me really trying to get this story out. I remember taking that family tree to my father's office and turning it into a real structural plan. I mean, it was like as huge as a blueprint for a building because it dated back to my great-great-grandfather. But I kept losing it. I mean, I totally redid it. Beautiful print and everything.
And lost it.
Can't find it. So now when it's time to do the book, I'm like, well, the one thing we need is a family tree because people will get lost in the shuffle reading all of this. So a couple of weeks ago, I go visit my mother, and I'm cleaning out one of her drawers, and bam.
That's the family tree.
Wow.
The original one I saw from the very beginning. That's God.
Wow.
And so what I would say to everyone is just start writing it down and have someone responsible to keep it and track it. That is why we ended up giving a lot of our artifacts to the African American Museum on the Mall, because I kept losing the original license.
Wow.
Well, you put them in your office. Actually, we store them. And we make replicas of the license and of the pictures and things like that.
Man.
But then when it comes time when you move, you're like, oh my God, where is it? I told Chan, my PR consultant, I said, Chan, I am tired of losing this. What are we going to do? She said, we're going to give it to the museum.
That's right.
And they will keep it forever. And so that's important that, we keep up with our family legacy because everyone has one.
Yeah.
You see it all the time with, when you see white people, like they do it all the time, right? Like, love him or hate him, you know who Donald Trump's father is, right? You know who Donald Trump's grandfather is, right? Because he talks about him all the time. You hear the story about his father that gave him $1 million. You hear those stories.
But that's easy though.
But a lot of times,
it's the great grandparents that you end up losing track of. Your father and your grandparents, that's easy because that's pretty much your generation.
Like Trump's son and Trump's grandson will always know about the grandfather that gave Donald Trump the $1 million to start his. Because
some of them knew him though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But those stories always talk because you hear about the stories, and we need to talk about ours more.
I think it's a little different for us too because like with my grandmother, she always talks about how like they didn't keep record of things because it wasn't something that was normal in the household. Like you didn't have pictures of certain people, you didn't. So then that gets passed down. It's just something you don't know to do.
Also, as black people, they just didn't care about us enough to give us our records.
Right.
That's
Our
what you
birth
read.
records, they threw them out.
They threw them out.
They didn't care. But I still think you can find it.
Yeah.
It's just genealogy and
Absolutely.
getting a genealogist to help you, go through it. I mean, we went back, with Nick Childs, we went back to Spring Hill, Tennessee and went through records of, the slaves that were actually working on the McKissack house and the Cheers house. And there were records, I mean, they try to erase them, but they can't. I mean, they're graves. So I think everyone can track their family history.
And I want to ask,
when I read this book and I see how this empire started in the 1800s, it reminds me of how resilient black people are.
Yes.
And we can navigate our way through anything. So it gave me a sense of hope, especially for the times that we're in now. Has it always given you that sense of pride?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, 1 in 5 businesses fail the first year. 65% fail in 10 years, and the average family business only lasts 24 years. Now, the chances for a family business to pass down to a second generation is like 60%. The chances of it passing to a third is 14%, and to a fourth generation is 3%. So here we are at 5 generations. And so I think what we do in the book is we make a case as to how the McKissacks were able to do that. And it goes all the way back to slavery. So slavery was different in every state. Like North Carolina was probably the most lenient of slaves at the time compared to, let's say, Alabama and some other states. South Carolina. And really, it's because they didn't have as many of the huge plantations. Slave masters had more like 12, 13, 14, 15 slaves. So the slaves were more like extended family. They weren't really they didn't have to be suppressed. Because just think about it. We went to Spring Hill, Tennessee, and we saw a plantation where there was a family of 5 people, but there were 300 slaves working for them. So who had the power?
That's right.
Right? So you have to suppress the 300 people if you want to survive. And so it wasn't like that in North Carolina. So we make that case that, you know, the leniency of slavery in that state must have helped the McKissacks get to where they are. And then the fact that slave masters after slavery still needed the craft and services that we provided. So they put us in business. And so the McKissacks were put in business by their slave masters. Moses McKissack II had his first company. And so, you know, this was during the time where we had Tulsa. So we had the Black Wall Street. And this was all over the country happening. I mean, this did not change until Birth of a Nation. And I don't know if you read that in the book.
Absolutely.
But that's why I was so excited to launch the book last week in Martha's Vineyard at the African American Film Festival, because it is the complete opposite of what was happening in Hollywood 100 years ago with Birth of a Nation that depicted us as ignorant, subhuman, sexual predators, and you know, it scolded white people who thought maybe we should reach out. You know, they're trying to figure out what to do. You were a slave one day, and now you're in business the next day. They're patronizing you. Some people are they're good people, and so this film scolded them and said to them, listen, if you patronize these businesses or if you have any empathy or sympathy for Black people, you shouldn't. And then for others who hated us, it gave them the license to just kill us.
And instilled more fear in them as to why they should never give us any political power.
I mean, the fear is still here today. And that was the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. You know, and because it was economically so successful, it was really like the beginning of Hollywood. So Hollywood was birthed with this racial movie about Black people. So now to be in Martha's Vineyard and to go to all of those Black films that really tell the truth about us. You know, all the women aren't skinny with long blonde hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I went to see Ebony Canal, which is about the problem we're having with Black women pregnancy, getting pregnant, delivering healthy children, and our children living past a year. You know, and I was so glad to see that the women really did look Black. Nothing was sanitized. And that's what we have to do, is tell our stories, and that's what our book does. It's a receipt.
You know, I'm glad that you brought the TV part of it up, because I remember when they were going to turn your story into a television show, right, with Paramount, and I'm like, that's never probably going to happen now, right? But it's because when you
dropped it.
but when you showcase these type of stories, and I'm glad we were able to publish the book, but when you showcase these type of stories, it provides inspiration. It does the exact opposite of what films like The Birth of a Nation would do.
Yes. Yeah. Because that was detrimental. I mean, because of that, I believe is the root of Tulsa being burned and, you know, Chester, Pennsylvania, all across the nation where Black people were thriving. If they had just left us alone right now, this picture would be totally different
Absolutely.
than it is today. So anyway.
I do have to ask, you know, when I speak to a lot of Black company owners and construction company owners, they say one of the hardest things is these companies don't pay out when they're supposed to, right? So it's like, you know, let's say they have a net 30, net 60, net 90. We're supposed to get paid in these times. And it's like a lot of times they feel like, especially with the Black companies, they don't have necessarily the money to hold until they actually do get paid. Do you have to deal with that a lot when it comes to these companies when you building these things and things like that? Because a lot of companies actually fold because they're owed money and they just can't survive.
Oh, you got to read the book.
Financial clearance.
I haven't yet. That's what I'm asking.
No, that's definitely a problem. Okay, when you
And it seems like it happens to us more than others.
Well, yeah, okay. So the bottom line is real estate and construction is a capital intense business, right? You got to have some serious money, some serious relationships. If you're building airports, schools, anything in New York. I mean, renovating a kitchen is $1 million in New York. Okay, so you
crazy.
you got to have money, and so it's very difficult to bridge that gap as a new contractor coming in. And so what we do is we create what's called an Impress account. So let's take JFK Terminal 1. And, this is the difference between having black ownership at the top of the food chain, because we have Jim Reynolds, Luke Capital, and Magic Johnson. But we were able to do an Impress account, meaning we could pay contractors extremely quickly, before 30 days. Because the bottom line is, if your construction is faulty in any way, you're going to see it. As long as you're inspecting on a regular basis, you're going to see if there's a problem. So if a contractor, gets paid a little bit more and they still have to come back and fix something, so what? Contractors are used to tearing down a wall and putting it back up, as long as you catch it. So that helps contractors a lot, because cash flow is extremely important here, because if you miss your union dues by a few days, your workers don't show up. And the union doesn't mess around with that. They want their union dues and they want the union to be paid. So you got to pay for that. You got to get your materials to the job. So when you're a contractor, a lot of that money is flowing from you to other sources, if it's your payroll, if it's your equipment or what have you, and you're only keeping a fraction of it to yourself. And so if you don't get paid on time, or if you have to borrow money, that's eating into your actual profit. And so that is a serious problem, access to capital.
What's the most difficult thing that you have to deal with, you would say?
That I have to deal with?
Your company.
I mean, it's the same. It just never changes. Most of the time, especially when I first came to New York, I'd walk into the room. I'm the only woman, definitely the only black woman. I was never expected to lead anything. People don't want your opinion, don't want your advice. And, it's kind of a nuisance. Like, what are you doing here? And so just getting over all of that and saying, listen, I'm going to lean into my legacy. I'm going to lean into delivering on time, on budget, with excellence. And I'm going to let my work speak for me. And that is how I built my reputation in New York over the years. It's an interesting thing. The New York Building Congress is the premier club in New York City when it comes to real estate, construction, and design. And I have been going to their galas for years. And the first gala I went to was over 30 years ago. It was in the 80s. And I remember being the only black woman. I remember seeing 500 white men in suits and a couple of white women. And, I'm thinking to myself, how am I ever going to make it in this city if these are the people that I have to rely on to get my work? I have to tell you, 15 years in, my husband said to me, Cheryl, stop running up to these people and telling them who you are. You need to just lay back. They know who you are now. And I'm like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm never bringing him to one of these events. Sure enough, the next event, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try what he said. So I just stood there instead of running over to people. Hey, my name is Cheryl McKissack. How you doing? They were coming to me. And so, you establish yourself over time. Now, here we are 30 some odd years later. I'm interviewing right now to be chair of the Building Congress.
Amazing.
The lead of the Building Congress, which has to be approved by the governor. I don't know which mayor.
We'll know shortly.
We'll know shortly.
We'll know soon.
Yeah.
Wow.
But these things can happen. But, you have to you have to be persistent, prepared. You have to persevere, and you have to be on purpose.
When do you know?
Okay.
When do you know how to like your husband said, like sit back, or when do you know how to like kind of like poke your chest out and be like, okay, but do you know who I am? Like, what's that like balance for you? Because in the book you talk about it was early on, but there was a time where you were fighting for a certain percentage of a partnership, and they played with you a little bit about what you could and couldn't do, right? But like now it's different because you have so much more under your belt. Like, when do you know how to fold or hold them? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean, and it's really, you're gonna have to like pay attention to what's happening in the room, or have someone who cares about you in the room paying attention. Because in the beginning, no one knows who you are. So you do have to kiss the rings. You got to pay homage. You got to let people, get to experience who you are as a person. But after a while, after you've contributed and after you know people for a while, then you shouldn't have to do that. I'm in new circles quite a bit now, but my reputation precedes me entering the room. So I'd like to say I try and hold back and just relax and talk to everyone just like they're anyone. But sometimes I feel like I have to go over and introduce myself.
Yeah.
And whoever if it's Anna Warthrop, or if it's someone who looks like they don't want to talk to you, that's exactly who
You need to talk to.
That's exactly who I will run up to and talk to. But it's not everybody. It's not everybody.
You talked to us about some of the challenges you faced when y'all were involved with the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Because I found that very
that was, when I look back on that experience, it was probably one of the best. Because I remember sitting just watching TV and hearing Bruce Radner was going to buy this team and build this arena. And I knew Brooklyn was, had a high percentage of African Americans, and that the politicians there were strong, and they were going to make sure that minorities or African Americans were a part of this development. And so I remember just thinking, okay, let me make a list of all the Black politicians, ministers, people who run organizations, and I'm going out and I'm meeting all of them. And in the first 4 or 5, I met Bertha Lewis. And you talking about a force of nature. I mean, Bertha Lewis was well respected, because if you didn't respect her, she was going to picket your site and, really turn it out. So she became really good friends with Bruce Radner. She had a real knack for finding compromise. Some people are all or nothing. She found great compromise, and so people like Bruce Radner respected her. And next thing I know, she's flying around on his plane. And I'm like, okay, she's in, I know I'm in. And that's how it works. It's important that we really work together as a race. All of us working together will make a difference. Like Charlamagne, you saying, I will publish your book. That is Black solidarity. That is really working together. That is when Black people, when I can go in a room and I can talk about you and you're not there, and I can say something positive and support you. That's what we need to happen all the time. We need sponsors at high levels doing that all the time. The Jim Reynolds and Magic Johnsons, I can't talk about them enough and what they've done. We're at $1 billion at JFK Terminal 1 spent with MWBE firms because of their leadership, their risk. It was a risk for them to own this airport, and putting their money where their mouth is. And so we were able to help local Black firms in Queens, in Manhattan, in Brooklyn. I mean, it's a beautiful story. I can go back to, and this is in the book, and I know I'm talking about Barclay Arena. I hadn't forgotten.
That's right.
But this is it, because I can go 5 different ways at one time. I was in Martha's Vineyard for the launch of the book, and Wendy and George Van Amsen walked in. So Wendy and George are in my book because when I had my first payroll that I could not make, I called 5 Black investment bankers, and they all gave me money. They all let me borrow money from them, and they were 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And first, I got the wife first, and she said, I'm going to make George write you a check too. You know, and that's how we have to do it.
That's right.
We have to work together. And so Barclay Arena is that story, you know, working with Londell Macmillan, Roger Green, Black politician back then. You know, they went into Bruce Radner with Bertha Lewis, and they said, listen, we don't care who you bring in on the majority side, but you got to work with McKissack and McKissack, because that's who we want, because we know that they're going to pay it forward. They're going to make sure our community goes to work. And so Barclay Arena is like all of that coming together, Black solidarity coming together and making it happen.
I love it. If you could change one policy tomorrow to level the playing field for Black-owned construction firms, what would it be and why?
I would get rid of personal net worth goals, which we've gotten rid of pretty much in the city. Is it in the city? I think it's, yes, in the city. There is no personal net worth goal, meaning there are thresholds to be certified as an MWBE. And for the state of New York, I want to say it's $15 million, excluding your business, excluding your home. Your net worth can't be more than that if you want to be an MWBE. If you go to Tennessee, Florida, DC, that number is like $1 million too. So like Black investment bankers, they can't get certified as MWBEs. And so, you know, I feel like that would help a lot if we got rid of some of these thresholds, because what happens, and this is in the book too, you're too small to be big and too big to be small. And so that really hurts firms over a period of time. And then, you know, I think capital is another important thing. It's not a policy, but, well, it is, you know, because if you think about the pension funds, you know, and every state has one, well, they're the ones supplying all of the venture capitalist money. And out of all the venture capitalist money out there, you know, firms of color have less than 1.2%. And so that needs to change. You know, we need the capital. I mean, you know, you see all these big developers, you know, developing these projects. They're not using their money. They're using other people's money. But we don't have access to that. And so we can't build that long-term wealth. You know, and you've had Don here. You know, Don talks a lot about that because that's his business. But that should be all of our business, you know, ownership.
Speaking of Don, what happened with the Freedom Tower? You kind of you gloss over it in the book a little bit. Like, what exactly happened with the Freedom Tower? Why isn't it happening? Oh, you don't want to talk about it.
Want to drink some of your water? That's how you pivot.
Last time that we had it was.
We move on. We move on. What? Okay.
I was going to ask, you just mentioned with the payroll situation, you had relationships that you could call. You talk a lot about watching your mom navigate rooms and building relationships and what that taught you. Today, what are like some of the biggest things that you still remember from what your mom taught you that helped you every day in business?
My mom taught me not to be afraid of anybody, to be afraid of her.
Just like a Black mama.
No, and she's not. She's not afraid of anybody. But she taught me that. And I don't mean, when I say afraid, just don't feel like they're better than you or that you have nothing to offer them. Always walk up to people and say hello, introduce yourself, and not worry about what they look like. Right. And I tell a story in there about Gentry Crowell, who was this old white man who was running the state of Tennessee's school district. And I had been working with my mom now for over a year. And so she was teaching me how to do business development and how to sell our business. And so I had watched her for a year. And so this day she said, you're going to go in and you are going to do the sales pitch. So, I mean, I had never done that before. And I was scared to death. Like my daughter back here, she's scared to death. She's like, Mommy, I could never do what you do. I'm like, I was just like you.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book.
I was just like you. And Mom, I got into that room. I was shaking like a leaf. But I looked at my mother, and she raised her eyebrow. I'm like, I'm more scared of her than I am of him. and I started talking to him. He never lifted his head. His head was down like this the whole time. And I mean, he had a road map in his face. And I'm like, this dude is not feeling me. But anyway, I was like, I'm just going to get it out. Right. So I do the pitch. And he stands up. He says, come over here, young lady. So I go over to him. He grabs my hand. He said, I absolutely want to do business with you. He didn't say anything the whole time. And I looked at my mom, looked at me like, told you.
Yeah.
Because, she knew him. I didn't. And so that taught me a lot. Like you don't really know what people are thinking just by the way they look. Yeah, he was an old white man in rural South with, racism and everything going on. But he had a respect for my mother and the McKissacks. And he did business with us. She also taught me how to solve problems. We went to Tuskegee University to open a building. And the president walked up to Mom and said, Miss McKissack, 2 years ago when I told you to design this place, I told you it gets hot and we need operable windows. He said, I don't have one operable window in this building. They all will not open. So we're going to suffocate in here. So my mom looked at him. She said, no, you're not. We're going to fix that. I'm going to pay to have every window removed. So now he's happy. She's not that happy, but we're walking through the campus. And so Mom sees this old building, dilapidated. They're literally keeping lawn furniture there. And Mom says, I see you living there, Dr. Payton. And Dr. Payton said, huh? She said, aren't you looking for a new residence? And he was. So Mom understood that he needed a problem solved. And so she said, let's go in there. So she goes in and she sells him on, it's a stately building with this beautiful cupola at the top. And she says, we're going to call it Gray Columns. She said, you're going to live here. And so she had to pay for the windows, but she also got another project.
Right.
Wow.
All at the same time. And I just watched her move through all of that, because she wasn't an architect. She wasn't a contractor. She probably couldn't even mix concrete, but she understood how to deal with the psychology of people.
And she took over the business during the time where like women didn't have a lot of the respect that men did in business.
No.
Like it was hard for her.
Yep. She took over in the 80s. The Women's Business Act came about in 1990. So that before the Women's Business Act, women couldn't borrow money. And so
you just had to sit there and be broke?
Your uncle could. What'd you say?
You just gotta sit there and be broke. Like you can't even say, let me get $5. Like,
Let me get $5.
But just think about it. This was in 1990. That's when Spike Lee's first movie came out. Yeah. This was yesterday.
That's crazy.
We were doing the butt.
Don't excite him.
Cheryl.
It was a dance.
The big song.
It was a dance, not what you're thinking about.
They
You know
still
that,
got to
right?
do the butt.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'm a DJ.
I don't want to excite you.
Yeah, I'm a DJ. Do you know who sang that song?
Yeah, EU.
EU. Yeah.
Come on now.
Just making sure. You didn't go to HBCU, so I don't know if they played it where you are. I don't know that. I didn't know that. Go ahead, Miss Howard University. Go ahead, continue on.
But I'm just saying, that was just yesterday in our world. You know, I don't even think there was an internet in 1990, right? Okay, so women are just coming on the scene at that point and considered business women. But listen, my mother knew how to operate. She knew how to move, and I learned that from her.
The thing I like a lot, too, about the Black family who built America, we're talking to Cheryl McKissack, is you've lived a life. And I want you to talk about that. How important is it for people just to live life? Because you talk about why you didn't drink, then you talk about why you started to get a little drink. Then you start,
I know that's right.
Then you start talking about how you like the boys, especially the hood niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Miss Cheryl. Miss Cheryl.
So just speak to the importance of also living a life.
Yes, well, yeah, our motto in our family is have fun, play hard, work hard, and then play hard. And then my pastor, A.R. Bernard, has another saying, and he's like, I do what I have to do now so I can do what I want to do later.
That's right.
And that's really the way you have to live life. I mean, if you're going to achieve anything and really enjoy those moments with your family and your friends without any cares in the world, you got to take care of what your business is first. And so we were able to live life that way. We grew up in a small neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee. And, you know, we knew everyone on our block. And so, you know, our regular day was after we did our homework, we could go outside and play with our friends, you know, kickball, whatever. It was innocent.
Till you got older.
Till we got older. Okay, did you get a galley?
Yeah.
Okay, so the galley has it all. We took some of that stuff out.
We took some of that.
No, so it was fun. I mean, and then showing up on Howard University's campus, and after being at an all-white school from first grade all the way to 12th grade, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. You know, everyone was Black in D.C. at that time. You know, the U Street all around Howard University. It's not like that now, but back then, that's how it was. And so, you know, we had our own shops, our clubs, you know, L.A. Cafe, Tiffany's, the Fox Trap. You know, it was amazing.
Fox Trap.
The Fox Trap.
Okay, what that is, Miss Cheryl?
Look it up. It's still out there. It's still out there on the internet.
It was community. It was just all community.
It was all community. And everybody got along. I mean, you know, from the higher echelons to, you know, the janitors and, you know, what the cleaning ladies. I mean, it was, everyone was together. And I mean, all the time. We go on the weekends out, you know, to our lake property, and the parties would just roll.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it because you said that's what you grew up seeing even in your house. Like that's what your parents used to do in their house. Invite people over, have a good time.
That's right. Yeah. And, you know, my mother would credit herself, and that's how she would help my father win his work, because she would tell him, bring your clients home. We're going to have a nice gourmet meal at home. And then she'd have me and my twin sister, you know, laying out the china. You know, so you learn a lot when you're doing those types of things. And then we're just sitting there listening.
Yeah.
We're hearing the transactions taking place.
That's right.
And so it was good. Good. Great life.
People got to get
And
that
building business relationships, building really good relationships.
Yeah. Relationships are key.
That's right.
I was going to say, speaking to relationships, a lot of the projects that you do, you talk so much in the book about the MWBE and bringing in other Black contractors, but also women contractors from that organization. Can you talk about the MWBE and the importance of it and what it did for you in business?
Sure. So I'm the first generation that certified as an MWBE, and that was here in New York City. So I had a strategy. My strategy was to figure out which of the agencies had the most money for capital programs, pick 3, and work those 3. And that's what I did. And so the only way to get in was having an MWBE certification. But that meant you had to be a sub-consultant to a larger contractor. And at the time, let me say, the MWBE goals were probably like less than 10%. But it was fine because construction in New York is very complicated. And so I needed to make sure I really understood what I was doing, how to get through the building department and pull permits, how to work with the unions, what's in contracts, all these things that are extremely important if you're going to conduct business successfully. And so I didn't mind working as a sub to, say, a Turner Construction, a Skanska Construction, all the large companies at the time. So really, I was selling myself to them and not necessarily to the direct client until later. But the plan was, once I understood how the game was played, to then make sure I got to a prime role. So to take those programs and use them to learn a client, to learn a business, I think is great. But the ultimate goal is you have to get to the point where you have your own prime contracts, because that's when you get to chart your own destiny. You know, that's where you get to really build a strong team of individuals in your company. It's hard to attract good people when you're taking that person and you're telling that 1 or 2 employee of yours, I need for you to go work in someone else's shop for the next 2 years, and instead of my shop. But when I'm in control of the project, they're working in my shop. So that's how you use those programs.
Love that.
What structural changes are still needed for minority-owned firms, like to compete on equal footing? What structural changes are needed?
Like I keep going back to access to capital. That has to happen. And then there's another dynamic in New York that is insurance based. Because of the scaffolding law here, our insurance is exponentially higher than any other state in the United States. And it's prohibitive if you're a small firm, because, you know, how do you pay $1 million policy and you don't even have a project yet?
Right.
Right.
But you can't get a project unless you have a policy, unless you have an insurance, certificate.
Damn.
And so the insurance, we've got to deal with that. And it's costing all of us a lot of money. And so it's not just a minority woman-owned business problem. It's a problem across the board in New York City. So that definitely needs to change.
Tell us about the merch that they asked.
Okay.
That y'all didn't bring us, by the way.
I know. We ran out in the vineyard. Everybody wanted a T-shirt.
Well, that's amazing.
And it's really catchy. But they ask, and the back says, "Who built this?" And the reason why that's significant is because people walk in their own church. They can walk in a hospital, walk through a train station. People can say, "Oh, it feels nice. I like this environment." But no one says, "Well, who built this?" No one asked the question, "Who designed this?" Is there a connection between Terminal 1 at JFK and LaGuardia Central Terminal? Like, who built this? And so we want to bring awareness to that, for people to say who built this, and for people to get interested in the real estate design and construction profession. And of course, we say we did.
That's right.
McKissack.
That's amazing. That's amazing. My husband always does that though. He does ask, like, Wherever we go, sometimes I wonder who built this. He really
But he's
does.
also Mexican.
Please don't worry. Please, Cheryl, it's not even. Don't even give that no light over there.
He is.
He do ask that. He asks that all the time. We go to museums. We go to stuff. He be like, I wonder who built this. Like he always.
Well, maybe he has he likes construction. Or...
Miss McKissack though.
Where do you think she was going?
Exactly where she went. So maybe, because you know how they are. You know,
construction a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we just ordered 500 T-shirts because we're going to Invest Fest.
That's right.
Okay, I know that's right.
So you will all get your T-shirts before we go down there.
Please, because you ain't gonna leave with none in Atlanta. So good.
That's right.
Yes, you'll be doing a fireside chat with Miss Basketball at Invest Fest.
That's right.
This year. It'll be on Friday. What is it? Friday the 20.
What day is
Second,
it?
August
22nd.
23rd.
Friday the
Okay.
22nd.
That's right.
5 o'clock.
Yep.
The black family who built America. We
Man.
appreciate you for joining us so much.
The book is available everywhere
I
you
can't wait
buy
to read
books
it.
right now. From Cheryl, McKissack, Daniel. You are Black history.
That's right.
Like, we always be reading stuff in history books and, wondering who these people were. We got living, breathing Black history sitting with us every day, still out here. So we need to celebrate it, appreciate it, learn about it, and know about it. So when they ask who built it, you could be like, oh, I know her. I just saw her on Breakfast Club.
Exactly. That's why I'm telling you.
I love it.
telling
I
you.
love it.
I'm gonna tell my husband next time. Cheryl McKissack. They built that, babe. I know that. I know her.
Tell him that
I know
every
her.
single time.
Yes.
All right.
I got her some water. Yes, I know her.
Tell him
her
if
water.
he wants to go in design and construction, come see me.
All right, Michelle.
Wow.
I'm gonna make sure.
You need a job, you got her. He goes, I know her. She hired my uncle.
Jesus Christ. It's Cheryl McKissack, thank you so much for joining us. Pick up the book, The Black Family Who Built America. It's
That's
the Breakfast
right.
Club. Good morning.
Hold up. Every day I wake up. Wake your ass up. The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?